Everybody. Really excited today to talk about tattoos in the Bible because it's a gray area and it's something a lot of people have questions about. Tattoos are pretty popular nowadays. But before I talk about that, I want to take a moment and just thank everybody who makes this a part of their daily routine. And it's really encouraging to see your feedback, and it means a lot that you guys watch and listen. And especially means a lot when you guys share the video so more people can get involved. And if you ever miss one or want to re-watch and share, feel free to go to our YouTube channel. Just search Today's Disciples. You can subscribe and watch all the videos there as well. But tattoos in the Bible, what does it say? Now, instantly what you're going to think of is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 28. So I'll be reading a little bit out of Leviticus 19. And Leviticus 19:28 says, "Do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord." So people will quote that to you and then they'll say, that's why you shouldn't get tattoos. But let's take a deeper look because unfortunately, like I said, this is a gray area and a lot of churches discriminate or judge people for having tattoos. So when God spoke about this was a practice and tradition that was a pagan worship and associated with false gods and had no merit with God. So that's why he was saying, don't do this. He was saying, don't do it because that's not of God. That's not a practice for me. That's a pagan practice, something you shouldn't be doing. So that's exactly why God put this in there. But if people quote it to you, they're taking it out of context because if you read the whole chapter of chapter 19 of Leviticus, it also tells us, do not cut your hair, your sideburns, or your beard, ever. And okay, they obviously do that. It also says, do not eat any meat with any blood in it. So if you've had a steak, you've broken chapter 19. It talks about piercing, so if any girl has their ears pierced, that would break chapter 19 as well. It also says that you can't wear clothing with mixed materials. So if you have cotton and polyester or anything of that nature, done. Leviticus 19 speaks against that as well. So why are we going to throw tattoos under the bus but not hold to the rest of them? It doesn't make sense as a church to only practice half of it. Plus, it says in Leviticus that if you've sinned, you need to bring an animal sacrifice. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't go to many churches where I see goats and sheep being slain. So they have to really take into consideration that chapter before they point the finger at people. But more importantly, let's look at what Jesus said and what Jesus did. Now, when Jesus came, he came and fulfilled the old law perfectly. And with his death, burial, and resurrection, we no longer have to follow the old law. And it says it very clearly in Romans chapter 10, verse 8. Christ is the end of the law so that there may be righteousness for everyone who believes. So very clearly, Christ is the end of the law. So we don't get to heaven or we closer to God because of what we do, because we're a better person. That's not the way it works. It's by faith and faith alone. So no longer are we held to the Old Testament whatsoever. So all of those laws in Leviticus and Exodus, we no longer have to follow those, but strictly focus on our faith in God. So anybody that tells you you can't have tattoos is a hypocrite because they cut their hair, they don't do animal sacrifices, they eat steak, they wear clothing that they buy at modern stores that aren't 100% of the same material. So first off, they have to be able to get past that. But more importantly, those of us with tattoos also shouldn't discriminate just the same. Let's not, look at the person who tucks their shirt in, wears their pants a little high with a belt, and I think, man, that person looks really nerdy. But just like you don't like to be discriminated against your tattoos, let's not discriminate against anybody. Nobody wants to be read by their cover when there's so much more to them. So it's important that we remember that. Now, I don't want to bash the Old Testament strictly and say, there's nothing good about Exodus, Leviticus, because I completely believe in what 2 Timothy 3:16 says, and that's all Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. So I do believe all the Bible is good for reading and teaching and learning. So it's important that we take it that way. But it's important that when we read something in the Bible, we don't just paraphrase it, that we take the time to read the whole thing. And I don't think anything in the Bible was made to be used against people. We weren't made to judge each other with this book at all. That's not what it was made for. This was made to share stories in love and to teach you about salvation and to bring you closer to God and to worship Him. This isn't a book to judge anybody by. We're all sinners just the same. Because I have a different sin than you do doesn't mean that I'm more righteous than anybody else or that you're more righteous than me. We're all just in that same category of sinners. So let's make sure we think about that before we judge each other. Now, if you believe in God and you're saved, I'm not saying go get any tattoo you want. I still feel like there's some guidelines we should go by. And for me, it's simple. I have a simple rule to mine, and it's this. Would I be ashamed to show Jesus my tattoos? And if the answer is yes, then I probably shouldn't get it. Now, if you've gotten tattoos before you were saved that, aren't things you're particularly proud of, I'm not bashing you by any reasons. I have plenty of baggage myself that I'm not proud of before I was saved. But you know what? I didn't know better necessarily. And more so than that, it's that before we were saved, we made a lot of choices we regret, but that's the beauty of grace, is that it can cover all of those sins. So, as a rule of thumb, now that I believe and have been saved, it's that would I be ashamed to show my tattoo to Jesus? And, me particularly, I have a religious tattoo, and when I got it, my whole mindset was, man, this is a great way to reach people. I would love for people to ask me about my tattoo and have that be a way for me to talk about Jesus. So it was a really cool thing for me to have something that I believe in so much and to have a way to express that to other people. But like I said, if you want to get a tattoo of Boba Fett or a quote from your favorite book, I totally understand getting those things. But when you want to get a nude girl or you want to get, a bad word or something that's racist tattooed on you, I would just urge you to think twice about it, because we're going to stand before the judge one day and you don't want to be like, hey Jesus, you want to check out my tattoo? He's going to be like, why would you get that? That's crazy. I gave you this body and that's what you chose to put on it? Like, there were so many cooler things you could have done with it. Now it's just Jesus in my mind, but I'll show you guys a tattoo I got. Now, keep in mind, it's not finished. I am about 5 hours into it. We got about 4 more to go to color it and add some more details, but that's it there. So Jesus on the cross with a Sacred Heart below, and then on each side of the back of my arm is one of the 2 thieves on each side that were by Jesus. And it's going to be really cool as it gets finished. I'm really excited about it. But it's going to be the Holy Spirit here, God the Father up here, so it'll be the Trinity. And I actually was blessed enough with the opportunity to do an article with relevant magazines about the process of the tattoos and speaking out in the largest Christian magazine that I'm aware of out there, and have the chance to defend tattoos and what the Bible stance is on them. So to kind of break those discriminations and judgments against tattoos and make it more acceptable to Christians everywhere in the church, and so that they can understand that this isn't something to judge people by or to put people down for or keep them from the church. Man, that's a place where all are welcome. And, it's funny, even in Revelations, it talks about Jesus coming back down and having a mark on his own thigh, and it just sounds like a tattoo. So, that's a stretch, don't get me wrong, but it's possible. So I just want to have the opportunity to do this article and do right by the art and the artist behind it, and make it so it's not something that we're discriminating against, And this is something that's near and dear to me. I have a good friend who is tattooed head to toe. He even has a couple face tattoos, one being across here. And, I've seen friends get put down because people say it's gang related. I've seen people get tattoos of creatures in Revelations, and people assume it's devil worship when it's actually the opposite. So let's just be careful before we make those judgments. And it goes both ways. Let's not judge people and assume that they're a certain way no matter what they look like. We were made to love and accept each other, and how much better of a place is this going to be if we learn that we all have something in common. We all have somewhere or some place, and people who love us, friends, family, we're all coming from somewhere similar. So let's just make sure that when we're out there, we're showing generosity and being kind to others despite the way they look or their circumstances, and not judge them. And keep in mind, humble yourself and remember that, I don't know any of us that are perfect. None of us have been. So if you see somebody going through a hard time, be there for them. Don't put them down for it. Don't judge them. Because we've all been at a place where we're low, or we've been wronged, or we've lost our temper, and we were caught up in a life of sin. So let's humble ourselves and just remember that we can help people instead of judge or hurt them. And that's a really important thing to think about. Oh, my wife put that. Yeah, so Julie Duncan was the artist. She's amazing. She's very talented. And she is a Christian. So, it's really, really cool. And I want to give a shout out to her. She works at Lady Luck Tattoo on Grand and about 15th Avenue. But she does amazing work. Definitely check her out if you're looking for a tattoo. She's really, really good at what she does. But again, you guys, that's the message today, is just to love and love one another, and let's stop judging and start loving people. Again, thank you guys for listening. I always appreciate when you share the post. It means a lot to me when you share it so more people can hear it. Again, Today's Disciples, if you type that in on YouTube, you can subscribe and you can get all of the... Sorry, I was reading a message. You can see all of the previous sermons. I do them every weekday at 5 p.m. So if you missed one, check it out. Or if you want to re-watch or share, you can do that as well. We also have our Sunday sermons up there. So again, it means so much that you guys watch these, and it's so encouraging to me. So thank you guys for everything you do. See ya.